I was watching a show, or I was watching a YouTube channel about this woman who cruises all the time. And she goes on all these different cruises around the world, and she tells you what's good and what's bad and what's different. And she finally went on a cruise that left from Singapore and stopped in a bunch of larger Asian cities. I remember there was one in Japan, and they started in Singapore, and I think there was a stop or two in between. I don't remember the other countries. But one of the things she's known for asking for, I should say, is Coke Zero.
Okay.
And we kind of discussed this a little bit before off camera. But when you ask for, like, let's say a Diet Coke in the United States, I think we both know what that is.
Yeah.
But in some other countries, there isn't a Diet Coke. There's Coke Light, which is the same thing. It's Diet Coke labeled differently.
Okay.
And it's all made by Coca-Cola. It's not like some weird knockoff. It's Coca-Cola Light.
Okay.
Well, when she was on this cruise ship, she asked for a Coke Zero, and she was handed a Coke Plus.
Okay. Wow, they got a lot of different.
Yeah. Well, if you've ever been to the Coca-Cola facility in Atlanta, have you been there?
No.
Okay, I haven't been there since I was a kid, but they had a room where they had all of the different, what would you call it, the fountain drinks from all over the world, and they would tell you where they're from and all the different flavors. Also, because Coca-Cola is not just the Coca-Cola brand, there's a bunch of things underneath it. So I remember my sister and I, there were like little, almost like a Dixie cups, you know what I mean? Okay, so, and you could taste each one. And whenever we found one that was really gross, because, different cultures have different tastes. And there were some that were like super bitter.
Yeah.
And then we were both doing the same thing, like, oh, you guys got to try this one. It's so good. And then people would be like, oh, that's bad. But either way, when she received the Coke Plus, she thought, wow, is this just Coke Zero branded differently because it's being sold in a different part of the world?
Yeah.
Or is it something else? So she looked it up. And when she looked it up, it is a Coca-Cola product with fiber added to it.
Oh, really?
And I actually had to look this up. It has an ingredient called dexatrin, which
Okay.
it's an artificial fiber, but taken in larger quantities can actually act as a mild laxative. So I've got a picture of it on the screen right here. It just looks like it says Coke and then plus, and then below it also says, 0 sugars, which kind of makes you think of, Coke Zero.
Yeah.
But no, she looked it up. She was like, oh, mild laxative. Okay, this is not what I want to drink.
Yeah.
So she didn't drink it. And I think that's kind of weird coming from our culture. Like, I just don't see things having a mild laxative in it.
Right.
Except for some of our drinks do have a mild laxative in it, depending on how you look at it. And it all depends on how your body can digest certain things. So years ago, I was working for this company, and they were really good at like side benefits. And I mean like little luxuries in the office. Like we had all of these refrigerators, and they were stocked full of different drinks. And we had tons of different types of coffee machines, so we could have different brands of coffee and different types. It was really nice. And they would add new drinks to the freezers or refrigerators periodically, and they would try stuff out. And if people liked it, then we'd keep it. And if people weren't drinking it, then we'd get rid of it.
Yeah.
And I remember, this was years ago, they added vitamin water. And one of the guys I sit next to tried all the different flavors that we had got, and there was a couple that he really liked. And he just thought, oh, instead of drinking water during the day, I'm going to drink this. And I understand where he's coming from. Like, I drink a lot of water, but I add that flavor additive Neo to it just because I get tired of the taste of water.
Yeah.
So he's like, oh, this is better than Mio because it's got vitamins and blah, blah, blah in it.
Yeah.
And so he started drinking them. Well, he had several of them. I don't know if it was 5 or 6 or 4 or something. It was more than a couple. And the next day he was like, dude, I think I'm getting a cold or sick or something. He's like, it didn't last night when I got home, he's like, I had to like emergency run to the bathroom.
Yeah.
And, he described it a little bit more.
Yeah.
And then I'm like, ooh, well, stay away from me kind of thing.
Yeah.
Somebody else heard us overheard us talking
Yeah.
and pointed out that he had a vitamin water on his desk. And they were like, well, if you drink too much of that, it works as a laxative.
Yeah.
And they were like, what? And then he's like, just look it up online. So we looked it up and he's like, oh, I'm only supposed to have like maybe 2 or 3 of these a day. And I went way over that. I drank a lot of them during the day. And he's like, thanks for letting me know. I've already had 2. And he's like, for the rest of the day, I guess I just won't have any more. And he told me that his problem cleared up. And then he actually told me like a month later, he wasn't sure if it was the vitamin water that his body was reacting to differently because it has fructose in it for a what would you call it? Like an artificial sweetener.
Yeah.
And that taken too much, if you overdo that, it can act as a diuretic.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah. So a lot of things going against him.
yeah, so like a month later, he was like, well, I don't know if it really was, and I really like the taste of them, and he was been limiting himself to 1 a day.
Yeah.
And he decided, you know what, let me just run an experiment. So he had as many as he wanted for the day. I don't know if he had 5 or 6, something like that though. And he was like, yep,
Oh,
that's what it is. He goes, that night, he's like, I just,
Yeah.
I got to lay off. I got to do things in moderation.
Yeah,
And I was like, that's interesting.
Yeah, moderation's always the key, number 1. And number 2, I don't know how many people, number 2, that's funny I said that. I don't know how
Nice.
many people would realize that vitamin water had that type of, power.
And you know what? And I don't know if it was all vitamin waters or the vitamin water that he was drinking, because if you read the labels on them, the different flavors generally have different things going along with them.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure which one is which,
Yeah.
but to make sure that I had the story right, the way I was remembering it, I did look it up. And people were, in fact, I've got this quote. It says, no doubt drinking vitamin water can be a great way of consuming vitamins and minerals, but it is also loaded with added sugar, especially fructose, which has been linked to a number of health problems. Artificial sweetener is poorly digested by the digestion system and can cause mild diarrhea.
So,
So I was like, well, then yes, it was the vitamin water, as I'm remembering correctly.
Is it the triple X flavor?
What?
Because that's like, is it a certain flavor of vitamin water? Because triple X is my favorite. Have you ever had vitamin water since? Like, or has that made you stay away from
No,
it?
I've had vitamin water. I don't remember which flavor. Myself and vitamin water, just spit it out.
Yeah.
No, not the vitamin water. But what I'm saying is, if someone's got it and I'm thirsty and I'm like, hey, maybe I'm doing something where I'm sweating or something, and I'm like, do you have a sports drink or something like that? They go, I got vitamin water. I'll take that. But I don't go buy it.
Oh, okay.
So I don't know.
Yeah.
A lot of times, like if I'm interested in water, especially like if I'm at a grocery store or convenience store or something, I always buy the Smart Water.
Oh, okay.
And the main reason why I buy Smart Water is I like the container.
Oh, okay.
Number one, it's got the flip top that you can flip it up and just it's got like a sippy thing on the end of it. And then the other thing is it'll clip back shut and I can do it with my thumb.
Yeah.
And it fits perfectly in my drink holder in the door in my car. And so anytime I'm going on a car trip and I'm like, you know what would be a good idea is have some water.
Yeah.
I stop at a gas station and I grab one of those.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Nice.
And a packet of peanut M&Ms. Or some beef jerky.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. You got it all planned. Nice.